Hey yogis, Kit Kat here. If you were with me previously, we were looking at Trikonasana in our tutorial. We are now going to look at revolved triangle pose. So a little bit more of a balancing challenge and a twist from your Trikonasana. So I strongly advocate having a couple of these bad boys handy when you're doing revolved triangle. Probably keep them away from your puppies. This one has been given the chomp. It's got big chunks missing out of it here. I was not a happy yogi on that day, but I bought them some chew toys after that because I figured, lordy be, I really need to keep these intact. So blocks can be super handy, and the reason that I love them is they show you what's possible. If you think that your body's not going to go there, and I'll give you a really good example of this as we move into revolved triangle, the block shows you that there is possibility, and that by connecting with breath and just gently working with where you're at this very moment in time, deeper expressions of the shape will come. So, without further ado, let's move into our revolved triangle. So I'm going to start at the top of my mat. And we're going to come into Trikonasana as we did in our previous tutorial. Hands to heart center, inhale, Ekapada Tadasana, lifting the left foot. And we're going to shift that back 3 or 4 foot and come into our triangle pose. So, revolved, this is the same foundation that we used previously in our triangle or Trikonasana tutorial. So, revolved triangle is slightly different. So in our regular triangle pose, we're going to take the body weight forward and come down. I'm just going to use my hand on my shin to open up the shape a little bit more, creating space underneath in this right side of the body, opening the heart to the sky, really lifting and lengthening through the body. In our revolved triangle, there is a foot adjustment. So I'm going to come back, place my hands on my hips, and I'm actually going to turn my back foot and adjust my front right foot. So what's happened here is I've come from my Trikonasana, important foot adjustment. I'm going to turn and square my hips to the front of the mat, which means lifting that back left foot and replacing it down on the earth. So you can think of this like your warrior one foot alignment. So train tracks. I'm going to come from my Tadasana, or where my feet are underneath my hips, and I'm going to slide this foot back and place the heel down onto the earth. And that back heel again is at 45 degrees, so that is angling towards that back corner of the mat. So coming from our Trikonasana to a revolved triangle, there is a very big adjustment of the feet and of the hips. Unlike Trikonasana, where we have that external rotation of the femur, here we have a squaring of the hips and in fact a little bit of internal rotation, not too much. So I'm going to bring my hands onto my hips to start. And because we're going to twist to the front leg, I'm going to inhale, lift the left hand towards the sky. So already this is starting to create length through this side body. Some of our other adjustments and instructions apply in this space. You can still work with Pada Bandha here, so finding that grounded connection of the feet into the earth. Lifting the knees and the quadriceps. You're going to press down on the inside of that ankle, but then feel the energetic lift up the inside of the thigh. Belly to spine, so you've got some length happening in the lumbar spine, and you do have a slight pelvic tilt, so that posterior tilt of the pelvis. Now, this grounded connection of the feet into the earth is super helpful. From here, we're going to inhale, lift high, and you're going to reach as far forward as you can. So just as you did in your regular Trikonasana. And then, as you release, the hand is coming to the outside of that front right foot, and the right hand lifts high, eventually turning the head and finding the full expression of the pose. Belly to spine, lengthen through the back body, hip adjustments. So, if you're coming into this pose as a beginner, get your handy block or a stack, a lunchbox even, or a stack of books, and try this at the inside. So first protocol, placing it on the inside of the foot. From here, placing that hand, and you can even leave the hand on the hip as you find your balance here. And quite often it's a drawing back of this right hip to find length in the body, and then eventually opening up into that shape. As you advance a little bit further, you can take the block to the outside of the foot, and you can have it on any height here, so there's no limit to where you can have that. And you might even feel yourself playing in the shape, belly to spine, grounded connection with the feet, length through the back body. Inhale and lift. And eventually you'll come down, bringing the block a little bit lower. I can really feel this working into my glutes and my inner thighs in this space. And as demonstrated, eventually coming down into the full expression of the posture. To come back out, right hand to the hip, inhale, take that arm up to the sky, take the arms out to the side as you turn all the way to the left. Now, again, you can see that my feet are out of alignment here. We might not be able to see it, but my foot, because I've moved, is now in line with my toes. So we want to create that openness in the hips so that we can make this shape more accessible. So I'm going to step my right foot slightly closer to the long edge of the mat, and then I'm going to be able to turn my hips, and my heel is at 45 degrees towards the back of the mat. That way I'm able to square the hips to the front of the mat, bring the hands onto the hips, and you can play in this space and find that adjustment. So start to work the Pada Bandha, finding that foot lock, grounding the feet into the earth, and then lifting up through the front, through the kneecaps, through the front of the thighs, belly to spine, so you find some length in the back body here, shortening that distance between the ribs and the hips, slight posterior tilt. And then I'm going to inhale, reach the right arm high. And as I do that, I'm going to extend as far, far forward as I can, reaching, reaching, reaching beyond the end of the mat. Then as I exhale into the expression that I'm going to attempt today, planting my right hand on the mat, inhaling and lifting the left hand high. So there are further adjustments in this shape. Don't forget to use the block if that's something that's going to be helpful for you to find your way into the shape, either on the inside of the foot, the outside of the foot, on either height is perfectly awesome. And then we can inhale, find our way back up and to the front of the mat, back to Tadasana. So in your revolved triangle, there's lots of different adjustments and cues that I can give. What we want you to do on this, or what I want you to do or explore on this particular tutorial, is finding your way into the shape. With the feet, so if I'm standing facing you, you can see that I have that hip width distance between my heels, and that as opposed to my Trikonasana, I've brought the hips to face the front. Inhaling, I'm going to lift the right hand to the sky, and as I exhale, hinging forward from the hips, reaching, reaching, reaching as far as I can. Now when I can't reach any further, the exhale allows you to float down to the earth and inhale again to find the length, reaching that left arm up nice and high. So some of the adjustments here might be that I want to pull this left hip back in space. And you can see as you move around in the shape that the hips might go in one direction or the other. The ideal is to get both hips aligned, or the hips square to the front, and the weight distributed evenly between both feet. So the weight's actually not in this hand, although it is. It is, but it is not, because we actually are going to use that hand to deepen the twist, but ultimately you should be able to stay in this space with the strength of the legs supporting you, and that arm is allowing you to focus on the twist, and then to come up. We go out the way we went into the shape. So I would invite everyone in this tutorial again to play with the shape. It is not an easy asana. It's from the Ashtanga Vinyasa primary series. That's where I first encountered revolved triangle, and it doesn't get thrown a lot into practice because it is a more challenging shape. You will wobble and fall, and I still do it now. I had one of my teachers the other day say to me, "Can you glue your feet to the floor?" And I was like, wow, maybe I have had too much coffee today. But you know, you'll have those experiences on different days, and it's perfectly okay. If you're having that experience of the feet wobbling all over the place, perhaps the feet are too closely aligned. As you move deeper into the shape, the feet do become closer, and you'll get that heel to toe alignment that allows you to deepen the twist. But that is a more advanced variation of the asana that you work into. But in order to actually get into the shape and get the benefits of that shape, revolved triangle, having the train track feet placement is going to be your best bet. It's going to enable the hips to be square and for you to find the twist into the shape whilst maintaining your balance, because you spread out the base for the center of gravity. My yogi friends, have super fun playing around with that tutorial, and I will see you on the next shape tutorial. Namaste and much